So, to start off with, for viewers who might not be aware, what is Vert et Vitesse and what can they expect to see at the exhibition?
Vert et Vitesse is an exhibition of a full collection of René Lalique car mascots from the 1920s and 30s, which Lalique designed and produced in glass. It was a very expensive car accessory that went on the front of very expensive cars.
Of course.
And this is the first time the collection at this scale has been exhibited.
And what makes René Lalique's car mascots in particular very special?
I think the genius of his design, his ability to form something from his mind, to draw something like that is incredible in itself. But then to conceive how one might make that,
Yes.
and then conceive how then one might mount that on a car, is visionary. And then the different colours, colourways, and the use of opalescent glass, as we see in the Vitesse there, fits into the title very well, is extraordinary, and in many ways was often copied, never bettered.
Never bettered. And to see any of these pieces individually, I'd say, is quite impressive. What's the significance of having it all together in one place?
I think the fact that it's never been done before. Lalique created 28 models. A company called Breve in the UK who made the metal mounts that you see, which also could be illuminated. Also realised that the Sirène mermaid mascot from 1920 would fit the mount. So people then regard a collection as 29. And then sometimes, excuse me, moving around, the Naïd mermaid is also included to give 30. So some people consider that a full collection. In this case, we've assembled where there were variants of pieces in different colourways. For example, here's a good example of the sanglier or the wild boar in grey and fumé glass, or the perche, the fish, in clear, in white opal and amber opal glass. So we've assembled here every variant, every production variant of every model. We've given a total of 46 mascots.
Wow.
So that's never been done.
Never been done before. And in terms of location of anywhere in the world to host it, why the Bugatti Trust? Why here among these cars and this brand?
Synergy, I think, is a word I'd use. So I was talking to Dominic Taylor Lane, who's the founder of the Association of Heritage Engineers in the UK, at a car meet, and he said, "Oh, you're the mascot guy," and I said, "Yes, but specifically Lalique mascots, because there are, Lalique was the only one doing it in glass. There were many bronze mascots. If you think of the Rolls-Royce Spirit of Ecstasy and things like that, but many French manufacturers were making bronze ones. Lalique conceived this in glass, which is, an interesting and exciting choice all on its own. But anyway, Dominic said, "Well, where are they? What do you do with them?" And I said, "Well, they're all packed away." And he said, that's not good. And I said, "No, that's not good." And he said, "They should be on display." And I said, "Yes, well, you're very well connected. Can you think of anywhere we could do that?" And he said, "Is there any connection with Bugatti?" And I said, "Well, in that they're both French, very famous French manufacturers, both very much at the top of their game in the 1920s and 30s. Certainly a Bugatti owner would easily choose a Lalique mascot as the ultimate accessory. So in that sense, yes, very much there's a connection." Dominic suggested I talk to Angela Hooker, the curator here, who I was humbled by the excitement that this idea generated. And fast forward, here we are today. It's very easy for me. This has been a 25 to 30 year pursuit for me.
Wow.
The wow factor that I've seen these generate has been, again, quite humbling, and I'm very proud.
Yeah.
I should say that I've moved from being the owner of this collection to being the curator of this collection. So for me, this is like the end of an era for me, and to see them all here together is it's a wow factor for me. You know, I've lived with these pieces for years, but to see them like this lit up all together is just amazing as you walk in here. Also, very much very exciting and interesting for me was to actually put Lalique Tête de Coq mascot on the Type 35 that's also in this room, and it just sets it off so perfectly. So you can actually see what that would have looked like in period,
of course,
to an excited owner of that car.
Did any of these pieces ever come on a manufactured car, or were they just the top of accessories for these cars?
Lalique didn't dictate what cars these would go on, so people would make their own choice. But there was some, with one exception we'll come to, there were some logical choices, such as the Archer behind me was often fitted to Pierce Arrow cars in the United States because their mascot was an Archer. One of Lalique's first designs was the Cinq Chevaux you see here, the 5 horses, which he did design with in mind the Citroën Cinq Chevaux 5 horses car, so 5 horsepower car. So that makes a lot of sense. But we could equally have seen that on any other car. So it really was. It was because of the cost of these new. They were expensive. You would normally expect to have seen them on an expensive car. I've actually been, coincidentally, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been contacted by owners of expensive period cars, such as a Rolls-Royce, once owned by a prominent Indian gentleman, and they've got period photos of the car they're now restoring with Lalique mascot on.
Oh wow.
And in the case of the Rolls-Royce, it still has its Spirit of Ecstasy, and they have a Lalique Vitesse on the scuttle.
Oh wow.
And they want to recreate that as part of the restoration, so they've asked for my assistance in that.
Wow.
So yeah, these were generally going to be very expensive cars, but there was nothing to stop you fitting it to any car.
Are there any particular pieces we're surrounded by beauty here, but in particular that you wanted to highlight? Maybe a favourite piece?
Yeah, I already picking a favourite's almost impossible for me.
Yeah.
But people always love the Vitesse, and it's probably the closest of Lalique's designs to the Spirit of Ecstasy, so people can sort of, it's relatable in that sense. But I think particularly in the opalescent glass, it just comes alive. Behind you is Victoire, which I think, I don't think there could be a stronger Art Deco image than that, and the symbolism of that is just extraordinary, and to imagine that on the front of your car would be amazing. Above you is both the owl and the fox on the top shelf, which are the rarest. They were the last production models when the fashion for a mascot on a car was fading, and also the economy was also fading, and these were those were both 2 of the most expensive the mascots that Lalique produced at a time when there was no market for them, or people's pockets weren't deep enough. So they're very rare because they were commercial failures in a sense. You know, so they stand out. But I could call out any of these. I think the dragonfly, the large dragonfly, and you can see a photo of it there lit up, is just stunning. You know, but they all speak to me. My love of Lalique came from my love of Art Nouveau and Art Deco, and I don't think there's another designer manufacturer ever who made that transition and combined those two. And his naturalistic pieces are there to see, but also the very strong geometric pieces, or something like the Pintardal guinea hen. That's naturalistic yet geometric all at the same time. Yeah. And you know, as you look at each piece, you see all this, and you know, his genius was, as I said, not only conceiving the design, but then how will I make this?
Yes, and this might be a bit of a left field question, but how many of these that we see today do you think found their way onto a car, or all of them, or maybe a couple that did?
Well, in this cabinet, interestingly, yes, it's a good question, because Lalique was also a businessman, and many of these designs doubled up as paperweights or bookends. So it's not always true to say that they were all used as a car mascot. and interestingly, some of the rarer pieces, most of these you could see them being used as a paperweight. The rarer pieces are those pieces that wouldn't actually stand up on their own unless they were specifically in a mount on a car.
Right.
So Epsom would fall into that category. That would otherwise fall on its mouth. Comet and Saint-Chevaux could only have been mascots, and that's why you see them displayed here in their metal mounts, for example. The other interesting aspect of being used on a car is any piece that was on a car that was outside in the sun for probably 10 or more years, the UV radiation from the sun would actually turn the Lalique glass a slightly pink or amethyst hue.
Right.
So if you look at the Falcon there's a clear one, there's also a slightly amethyst one. That's actual natural irradiation from the sun. And the Cockerel behind me, I hope you can see, there's a clear glass version. That's a production colour there called topaz or fumé, smoked. But the pinky one, the amethyst one to the rear, which is actually also still in its original mount, that would have been irradiated from the sun.
Wow.
So in those instances, you can say that was absolutely on a car for many, many years.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Which is quite exciting. There is an interesting story around pieces being artificially irradiated later.
Wow.
And turned a very dark purple and sold as rare colourways, which they were not. That's a story all on its own. I'll say no more. But people, I think they may become collectible in their own right in the future.
Yes.
But they were artificially created.
To move more towards the exhibition, what do you hope as the collector and the curator that visitors can get out of seeing these objects up close rather than on a screen or maybe in a book?
I think having created a website, a knowledge base for these pieces, I realised that one of the biggest challenges is to photograph them in any way to do them justice. It's very, very difficult. So for people to be able to come here and see them in the flesh, in the real, so to speak, I think is a fantastic opportunity that they should definitely undertake to do. And again, we've talked about the broadness of the collection, being able to see all these pieces together. But I think just, and to get a sense of this golden era of motoring, which very much the Bugatti Trust and Museum represents and Bugatti represent, but to start to think about the social history here and imagine these pieces, being on the front of the car in the 20s and 30s, and the decadence that goes with that, I think is just something else. And there's we also have some ephemera here as well, original brochures and literature, and people can see the price and how expensive they were, and the considerations of mounting them, and whether they were illuminated in that mount or not. Because the Brave mounts, you could buy them illuminated or not illuminated, and people who illuminated them often would wire them to the dynamo, so the faster you went, the brighter
That's brilliant.
it got. And they would put colour filters in as well, so you could artificially create a colour, but in an electronic way. So yeah, I mean, it's been very humbling for me to stand in this room and hear as people come in and from 20 yards away just go, wow.
Yeah.
Almost without exception. And that's just incredible. So Lalique would create a mould, and they would be blown, the glass would be blown into the mould. The Bugatti Dancing Elephant, which Lalique made in collaboration with Bugatti in 2014 to celebrate Bugatti's sculptures, and the Dancing Elephant is a very famous mascot from the Bugatti Royale. For that mascot, they used a method called cire perdu, or lost wax, which is exactly how Bugatti would have made his bronzes, by making a wax model, casting it in plaster, and then pouring the molten bronze in, melts the wax, and you get the piece. Lalique, in period, perfected this method for glass.
Yes.
So there are some cire perdu lost wax vases and other things, not mascots, interestingly. and they're basically one-offs. Yeah, you have to have one max model for each piece. So anyway, so Lalique did recreate the dancing elephant you see behind you, and in that blue colourway there were only 35 examples. So it's a very rare limited edition, and whilst not part of the René Lalique pre-war mascot collection, is an important Lalique piece, which obviously ties in really nicely with the Bugatti, all part of that synergy we discussed.
It's the bond between the glass and the motoring, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.